So where do we go from here? What else is needed? And when it comes to climate, there are so many more questions than it feels like there are answers. So we're actually going to bring in someone who can answer these questions just a bit better than I can. Ingmar Rentzhog, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. You are the CEO and founder of We Don't Have Time, a social network focused on climate actions and solutions. Can you explain for those of us who may not have a full scientific picture of what the risks are, that what's happening, and if we don't take action, what's going to happen soon?
Thanks. I will first say it's fantastic that US now finally rejoins the Paris Agreement, because what is at stake is actually not just some politics, it's actually our lives and our children's lives. We are going to be directly affected of the climate crisis. We already are, as you have seen in Texas and in many places on the world. In just this year, we have had over 8 degrees warmer at the North Pole than normal. That's catastrophic. So the climate is changing and we're living in a whole other kind of planet now. But where we go from now is deciding if we're going to confront that monster you were talking about and try to handle it, or if we don't do anything, we will actually get burned alive in that blanket, hiding. And that is exactly what the world leaders has been doing, and everyone. We're hiding from the problem. It's great that many people now realize the problem, but we need to get them from realizing it to act. And it's everyone's responsibilities, not just the leaders. Everyone needs to think how they spend the time of confronting the monster. We must get out of our comfort zone and confront it, because what is at stake is actually our human civilization. Corona is nothing compared to what we're going to see in a near-term future happening to our society if we don't get the situation under control.
And we talk about the devastating effects, but can you give an example of what those effects might be, whether it be the rising of oceans, just the change in climate in general, and how that affects humans and what we do?
It's so many effects. Actually, I think it's best described as chaos. And one of the biggest obvious problem of that is actually our food production. In order to grow food, we need a weather that is stable, we need seasons, and if it's chaotic, it will be very hard to produce food for billions of people. So food production is one thing, and another thing is water. We need water to survive, and what we saw just 1 week ago was some catastrophic event in Himalayas, where we had this glaciers melting, and people were dying because it was this earthquake, or what do you say, when the earth masses came down. What we see here is actually 1.2 billion people that are dependent on fresh water from the Himalayas, and it's melting away in front of us. That will trigger war. That will trigger human civilization collapse. We need to address this before it's too late. So it's so much at stake, and we can't hide anywhere on Earth.
And today, We Don't Have Time actually shared a really powerful post from climate scientist Ed Hawkins that explains the annual temperature in the United States from 1895. Now, at the top, that's reaching 1895. In 2020 is at the bottom. Can you explain what this data illustration is actually showing?
Blue means colder than normal, red means hotter than normal, and red is not good. And what you see at the bottom is the flag turning red. And this is what is happening, and this illustration is a beautiful illustration of the problem, but it's also a beautiful illustration of how now US is starting to act upon this. And this flag gives me so much hope to now see US leadership back in business, helping the world to do something and hopefully take the leadership.
What do you think is the biggest message that you wish people understood when it came to climate?
I wish they understood that that everyone needs to do something, and everyone can do something. Because many people get so paralyzed about this problem, so they think that they can't do anything about it. And if people can't do anything about the problem, it's better to ignore it. That is not true. People can do something. And my advice to everyone, regardless if you're rich or poor, is to figure out how you spend your time, because we don't have much time left if we don't act on this, and if people are spending time on the solutions instead of maybe go to work and be part of the business as usual problem, we will not make it. So spend your time wisely and try to spend the time of doing more good than bad. And if more people are doing that, we will see the action happening, and we will see the leadership in the world following the people's will. The reason why we don't have the leadership is actually that people are sleeping. It's not just the leaders.
Exactly. Something as simple as just making sure that you avoid the use of single-use plastics. Ingmar, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on NBC LX.
Thank you.